Hello, guys. Welcome back to the channel. Okay, so today I want to talk to you about a massive discovery that I had earlier this week when I was talking to a grocery store cashier, and that is white women are responsible for creating patriarchy. And I want to talk about this because it's going to ruffle a lot of feathers. But the people that I've already talked to and run it by are like, damn, that makes so much sense. As in a lot of things that I say, right? Because my work is rooted in showing you what's actually real and what society has tried to tell you is real. Okay. So let's kind of the title of this is called The Fall Guy. And I wrote a Substack article on this. I wrote a blog on it. This is honestly just me spitballing it in video form because sometimes we just like to listen instead of read. Okay. Every corner of the internet is dedicated to dragging men to hell. They can't think ahead. They can't see what needs to be done around the house. They're emotionally unavailable. They're laborers, protectors, providers, but never the ones doing the real inner work. We have said all of this, right? Collectively, loudly, without stopping, without shame. But then in the same breath, we want to claim that these same men architected one of the most sophisticated systems of global domination in human history. Patriarchy, colonialism, 1,000-year plan for world conquest. Are you fucking serious right now? Be so for real. You think the same man who can't keep track of his wallet and keys planned world domination? You can't have it both ways with that level of thinking. So let's talk about the story. How did I get here, right? I was exhausted. Oh God, a few mornings ago, and I had to go to the grocery store. And so I was standing in the grocery checkout line, and I just let out one of those sighs that comes from somewhere like really deep. And I was just like, it turns out that Mercury has been in retrograde. I think the moon was in like Pisces or something. I ended up taking like a 90-minute nap that day. It was insane. The cashier, a white man, he was like, I feel you on that sigh. And then what followed after that was just a few minutes that I just wasn't expecting. We started talking about gravity and the planets and the movie Arrival, and I told him about the show Three Body Problem. Just like science nerd shit just spilling out of this man, stocking shelves. And his eyes were just like, I don't want to have this job. And I just watched his entire energy shift. He was like lit up talking about these things. And what I felt in that moment, I didn't feel pity for him. It felt like I recognized something. And it was this question of like, how did he get here? And who told him that this was all he was here for? Stocking shelves. Men are just as innocent. They're just little girly pops like the rest of us. I have male clients who have told me privately what they have never said out loud, which is, I just want to make my art. I just want to collect things, build things, nerd out on things. But if I do that, the woman or the women in my life will think I'm weak. They'll think that I'm weird. They'll think that I won't be enough. These aren't monsters. These are people who got handed a script that they didn't write and told to perform for a movie that they didn't want to be in, or face the risk of exile from the only people that were showing them love. Men have been beaten down. And what happens when you beat someone down long enough? They start to crack, right? And then we act surprised at the violence that they display. When we look at the statistics, white men are statistically more violent than most. They're responsible for the majority of the school shootings we see here in America. And we use this as evidence of their nature, but we never ask what psychological warfare produces that outcome. Of course, I'm the one who's asking. So the mastermind was never the face. So here's what I know to be true. The president of any country has no real power. The power lives in every advisor, every cabinet member, every person whispering in the ear of that person in that room. Power has never been the face. Power has always been behind it. And women, specifically white women, in the context of colonialism and patriarchy, have always been methodical, intentional, strategic to a degree that we don't give credit for, because giving credit for that level of strategy would mean holding them accountable for what it produced. It is far easier to believe that a big, scary man killed people, conquered lands, built empires on suffering. It is much harder to believe that the woman he came home to was the one who sent him. But every time a powerful man speaks about his success, who does he credit? The woman behind him. We have called that humility, and I'm calling it a fucking confession. Weaponized fragility is still a weapon. I posted a TikTok one time asking white women if they were okay. because their husbands were clearly not. And the responses were almost uniform. He's abusive. He lies. He cheats. He's the problem. Every single one of them, a victim. And I've watched it in real time. What happens when you try to hold a white woman accountable in public? The speed of the pivot, the tears, the reframe, the sudden disappearance of agency. Okay? That is not an accident. That is a fucking craft. That is a muscle that you flex. Weaponized fragility is a governance strategy. It keeps the wielder of it above suspicion while the accused absorbs every consequence. White men have taken the fall for all of it. White women have kept the real power and the plausible innocence the entire time. But the part that really breaks my heart the most is how badly this has backfired. Okay? I believe that they did this on purpose. I believe that it was calculated and it was precise and it backfired. Because when you train someone to suppress everything tender in themselves, when you tell a man over and over that softness is weakness and that conquest is virtue, you don't just shape his behavior, you kill and fracture his entire psyche. Ed Kemper and Henry Lee Lucas are prime examples of men who killed their mothers, then hunted women who looked like them. Hatred born from intimate harm, not from nature. Okay? These were white men who killed white women who looked like their white mothers who abused them. And Lord Farquaad from Shrek, he said it perfectly. He said, some of you may die, but that's a sacrifice I'm willing to make. White women ran an experiment to start patriarchy and colonialism. And they lost some of their own in this experiment. They lost some women and they lost some men. But they calculated that as an acceptable loss. And they moved forward anyway. That is not innocence. That is a level of coldness that we refuse to attribute to women, which is exactly why it works. This is why governance has to start inside. I don't say these things to vilify anyone. I'm telling you this because I have divine jurisdiction over this idea, and it would not have arrived in me if I wasn't meant to carry it somewhere. Everything we think we know about patriarchy and colonialism is a cover story. The history books aren't going to tell you that. Most of our written history is wrong, okay? The internet's probably not going to surface it, but if you sit with it, if you really, really sit with it, you'll feel the truth of it in your body. Power always has a hidden layer. The visible leader is never the real one. This is why my work in governance is so insistent on one question above all others. What is the actual source of authority here? And are we seeing it clearly? What is actually real? Because when authority is hidden, it cannot be held, it cannot be designed, and it can't be governed, and it can't be punished. And the systems we're all living inside were designed very specifically to stay hidden. And I am done pretending that we are fighting the right enemy. And it's time to look beyond the face that we've been given. And some people will come out and say, oh, well, you're just a simp for white men. Maybe I am. I've liked a white man or two, right? But when I sit down with enough of them and I get to the root of who they actually are, and I can see what it is that they've dealt with and how much they change when they're just given permission to be themselves, it doesn't make sense that they were the original villains. It only makes sense that they villainized now because they're acting out, because they're tired of being oppressed by the system that people have blamed them for creating. I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. Okay. And so I wanted to create this video to offer a different perspective because as a society, we all know with the release of the Epstein files and different things like that, look at Erica Kirk. Look at how bizarre that woman acted in the wake of the death of her husband. That doesn't scream weird to you? And so many people have reported on her since Charlie died, which no love lost for him, but since he died, and they're hitting nothing but dead ends. And there's a reason that her rabbit hole goes so deeply, but you can only get so far. And if we can see that in her, then we can see that in every other white woman of power. Okay? Think about it. Sit on it. Don't just allow everything that you see to be the truth, because the reality that you subscribe to isn't real. And the first step that you take in finding a new one is trusting yourself with what you know and believe. I had this download about white women because I was supposed to have it, because I trust myself enough, because I have enough internal authority and jurisdiction over myself to see the things that they don't want us to see. So if you're ready to join the crazy camp, you guys know where to find me. My link's in my bio. I work with companies and organizations that are ready to change completely from the inside out, who are ready to change the fundamental beliefs that we have about human behavior and how we make decisions and build a completely new world on top of that. And I work one on one with individuals who already have large sources of money and already have enough employees who are responsible for a lot of lives underneath them so that we can begin the domino effect of creating a new world. And if that's you, look at the links in my bio. Hit me up. Let's get to the work together. Let me know what you thought about this in the comments, because honestly, this is a completely new way of thinking and it's going to feel really jarring for a lot of people, but I want to know what you think. Till next time, guys.